Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 458. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. I'm so excited. Our next guest is a high-profile tech founder who was on Shark Tank and recently completed an acquisition. Welcome, Christopher Gray.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your former business?
All right, my name is Christopher Gray. I'm the founder and former CEO of Scholly. We're a mobile and web app that instantly helps students find money for college. We have over 5 million users and help students raise over $100 million in scholarships over the past 9 years. We launched the company on Shark Tank. Started the biggest fight in Shark Tank history. Got to deal with Damon John Loganier, who was number one in the App Store. We managed scholarships for Google, Amazon, Netflix, Disney, and just scaled the business. And we was recently, as of July of this year, the company was acquired by Sallie Mae. I'm still on board, but the company was acquired by Sallie Mae. So that's been a really good outcome because, there are not a lot of Black tech exits at all. So it really was good to really be a good outcome for my team, my investors, and just across the board.
That is a lot. Let's back it up. How did you start the company?
Right. So I originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a first generation college student, and I won over $1 million in scholarships to go to college, and realized that there was all this money looking for students looking for money, and I realized that and I realized in this new age of mobile apps and technology, how can we bridge that gap, right? How can we make sure we're having students look for the money, find the money that's looking for them, and create that matching process? So I started the company while I was in college, right before my senior year of college. And, we then were able to launch it on Shark Tank my senior year of college. So that was just a really, really good experience. But coming from Birmingham, Alabama, experiencing the issue of not being able to pay for college myself, then seeing the experience of others inspired me to really create this product.
And how did you secure the capital to start the business?
Well, again, I actually used my personal savings through, some of the scholarships I got, but also, more importantly, I was able to get on Shark Tank. That was really helpful to start to get that capital and that exposure. And I would say that I know a lot of people like to go the investor route, but I would say your best form of capital is revenue. We started to get it out there and started doing that. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, the best form of capital is revenue because that's the only thing that you can have some sort of control over, right? Waiting on someone to say yes or tell you no or not follow up their email, those things just, you can just spin the block doing that stuff. So definitely revenue. And then was able to get on Shark Tank after having 90,000 in revenue in my college year, a few months in, and then be able to, get the capital I need and exposure I need to start the business.
And talk about getting on Shark Tank. Talk about that process.
Well, so we were featured, I think, in USA Today, and one of the producers of Shark Tank reached out to my professor asking for, we saw this story. He went to your school, like what, could you connect us to him? And he did, and he connected me to the producer, and we were able to get on the show. And when I first filmed for Shark, well, first they reached out to me. I didn't think we were going to get on the show because I thought Shark Tank was more around physical products, like the physical business you see you buy in Walmart and things like that. So I was like, we'll see. But they really liked the story. They liked the product. It was very compelling, and they invited me to go on the show. And yes, the rest is history.
What is your major? Did you major in technology?
No, I majored in finance and entrepreneurship.
And where did you go to college?
I went to Drexel University.
Thank you for that. What is something that we don't know about pitching on Shark Tank that we should know?
You film for like an hour and 30 minutes. They edit it down to like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a lot more than you see. It's a lot of production magic, right? Some people film who don't even air. And and I think that a lot of deals don't actually close. I was fortunate where my deal actually closed. There are people that get on the show and get a deal, but they don't close, right? Because some of the entrepreneurs be going, that should be lying. They like, and then they get in diligence and not actually, the whole thing. But yeah, those are the things I would see. And then also just the amount of exposure. I see a lot of entrepreneurs go on the show trying to nitpick over equity. The exposure you get from the show is like worth $5 million in free marketing and user acquisition and sales. So just, really go and make sure that you're optimizing for getting a deal and having a best impression on the show so you can get that traction for your business.
Did you have a coach or anyone prep you for Shark Tank? Do they have anyone that helped you through the process?
My community, my friend, I was fortunate to have a lot of mentors who were able, like, you just kept doing pitches, and we kind of almost created like a rubric, like a test questions, like you study for the ACT, like all the questions they could potentially ask. I watched, studied the show, I watched everything they would ask people, wrote it all down, and I was very prepared. I
That's
practiced
awesome.
every test.
So yeah, that in itself is worth $1 million that you share that. Talk about the acquisition. When you started, or at what point did you know that did you have an exit strategy? I think is a better question. Did you know you wanted to sell?
I think that, the process started with Salome reached out to us for a partnership. At this point, I've been doing Scala for 9 years. So I was like, there was a good financial outcome to be able to understand. But more importantly, when people think acquisition, they just think, oh, you get a lot of money and you're rich and blah, blah, blah. But you really are thinking about where your company is going to go from there. And you really are partnering with the company to essentially do what you couldn't do on your own, right? You're now getting resources in exchange, and instead of having to raise capital, there are a lot of founder things you don't have to think about. You don't have to think about making payroll. You don't have to think about all the annual expenses. You just are able to grow, right? And there's some trade-offs, but like being able to really do that, Salome aligned with our mission. They made the app free. The app is in good hand. I was just in a meeting yesterday where I was just really happy to see just the company, being in the hands of competent engineers, growth people. So that's been great. But it's definitely a personal decision. I think it's always a financial decision. Obviously, the money's great, but it's also a personal decision. You're making a decision to sell your baby, right? Or like it's like sending your baby off to college, right? Like it sounds great when you're doing it, but then it's like, oh Lord, like I just actually, did it. But I think that I was fortunate where I didn't raise a lot of capital. So I was able to, a ton of capital. So I was able to kind of make that decision. But I think it was definitely a hugely personal decision. It was like, hey, I'm ready to really grow this in the way I want to, right? Get in the hands of more people. I'm also ready to, really be able to take a break from being a founder. And also just having a financial outcome that works. My siblings are going to college this year, ironically. Just being able to do some other things and really be able to, to get to the place and take a break and get the fruits of my labor.
Will you stay on and work
Yes, I am still on.
for how much longer? Can you share?
Well, for at least another 2-3 years. Yeah.
Okay. And then what's next for you?
Well, I'll be doing this. I'll be doing Sally Mae. Yeah, that's my focus right now. Of course, I'm going to angel invest and some other things, all that stuff. But I like invest in a company that helps people find AI company that helps people find jobs using AI. So everyone talks about AI is going to take jobs. The company uses AI to get jobs called Path. So I did invest in that. So just really kind of sitting on the investor side of things for a little bit and enjoying myself.
Chris, there's so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
I think a brand and business dominating right now is actually, ironically, Microsoft. Right now, because the AI, they've just been champions on that. I don't know if you saw what happened with the whole open AI thing, like their stocks dropped, jumped. And I think that, for the first time in a long time, Microsoft is kind of on the front end of this new cutting edge technology because AI is the future. And AI is going to disrupt so much of our lives. It already has, right? And it's going to be in the blink of an eye. And I think that, Microsoft has been great. So I've seen them really, really dominate the space, right? Really like a black-owned brand that I think is amazing. Well, not a physical product, it's no Afrotech. I think, go there seeing how big that conference has become, 30,000, 40,000 people, seeing the community it's created for like Black people who are in tech has been really, really powerful. So, being able to, really see that, grow has been good as well.
And what advice would you give someone who's seeking mentorship? You talked about the mentors that really helped you. How do you vet a good mentor?
I think find someone who specifically has accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish. Not just, oh, this person's like, okay, like saying, okay, Chris is Scholly, right? But you're starting a biotech company, right? Yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but like I can't help you. Some people just think someone's financial success equates to credibility in all things, and it doesn't, right? Like, there are different kinds of business, and people need to know their lane and know, what they're actually good at, right? If you have a B2C business, that's tech, that's SaaS, I got you. But if you go just come to me with your e-commerce, come to your skincare line, I can't help you, right? Like, but but people do. They just think, oh, you're a successful entrepreneur, so that you just kind of have this Bible to everything. All and it doesn't work that way, right? Also, I think that having very specific mentorship. There are people who can be just, hey, this is my mentor for growth marketing. This is my mentor for finances. This is my mentor for operation. This is my mentor for personal stuff, right? So I do think that find tailored mentorship to what your specific needs are, and not just, oh, this person's successful, like I'm just gonna do it. Like they're like, oh, like some people, like there are a lot of, like, especially black boys, oh, they'll be in text like, oh, Jay-Z's my role model. Did well, I don't know if he's in as role model right now, but and that's fine, but there's nothing wrong. But it's like, at the same time, you're in tech, bro. Like that's not what you are actually trying to do. It's not your path to wealth, but so we have to just make sure that mentorship and that advice is tailored, to what we individually want to accomplish specifically.
What problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
I think that like AI has, I've spent the past 9 years of my life helping people find money for college. I really want to do the next thing after they leave college. I really want to help them find jobs, right? And faster, right? Exposing people to things and also skills training. I really, really think that the college is going to evolve to being more skills based, right? Where rather than you spending 4 years to get a degree to go and make $32,000 a year, you can spend a year learning sales, a year learning UI UX design, a year learning to code, right? So you have less debt because it's less time, it's less money. And I think that we're seeing that people get hired because they can do the job, right? And half these people be lying on their resumes anyway, because companies don't actually ask you for your degree. They don't actually ask you, oh, give me your physical degree. Like you can literally just put you into Harvard, and they most of these companies don't check, right? But you go and do the job, or they're gonna fire you now, right? So that's it. Yeah. So I think that that's the biggest problem. How do we move to a world where we can just say, you want to be this? I got you. Here's how you can learn how to do it, and then take it from there.
I want you to have a monologue. I want you to name this person, living or not, and they've inspired you so much. Who is that person? And what advice or what are you saying to that person?
So I think one of the people I really admire right now is Robert Smith. He's the Black billionaire. I've actually been able to meet him a few times, and I think that, I think that what's unique is that not just he's a billionaire, it's the fact that he's a billionaire in a way that African Americans are not used to. We're very used to entertainment billionaires, sports billionaires. So seeing someone who's in tech and finance gave a new platform and new visibility. I think I love what he did for the Morehouse students when he paid off the student loans, because we also don't see that. We don't see Black philanthropists doing things at that scale, right? You'll see a rapper give money to like, oh, $10,000 to a nonprofit just for PR, but to actually see Black people doing big, large scale, impactful philanthropy, again, who's not entertainment, I think provides a really good example. And two, like I think until him, I never really, my pathways were always aligned with, white Jewish men, because that's who built tech companies, right? So, being able to say, okay, hey, this person who, in a private equity, but, adjacent to tech, really gave some inspiration, that you can do it in some aspect of a platform. Because, Black people, once you get to a certain threshold of traction with your company, a certain threshold of wealth, we sometimes think that, oh, well, now I have to like really assimilate to this degree of whiteness because these are my peers now. These are the people who've achieved what I want to achieve. So I have to do that. So I do think that, having more Black people who have achieved those levels, that, is something that, I think he puts he really helped to do that.
Advice you wish you had taken.
I think that there was a moment where we could have raised around like $30 to $50 million when 2021, when capital was free, we had a ton of traction, and I said no. And I think that would have allowed us to even have a bigger exit, because we had the capital to scale and grow. and some secondary and all that. But I did say, I was like, we were killing it. We thought that the good times would never end, and 2022 happened, and then the market tanked. But we still were successful. But like we could have been even more successful. That was a regret. Now, understanding what was it? I would say there's the founder of Alibaba says something. I think everyone says this: raise money when you don't need it, because when you don't need it, you have the best terms, and you can fill your coffers, because it's harder to raise money when you actually need it. It's hard to get a loan when you actually need it. It's easier, the law of capital is that it's easier to get when you actually don't need it. That's
Absolutely.
that's the crazy part.
Talk about your top two mentors and what lessons did they teach you?
I would say my top two mentors when I was growing up was a woman named Dr. Starks. She was this executive community entrepreneur institute, and she was a psychologist. So she was really able to help me be formative, help me understand things I was going through from a psychological lens. I was being a quasi therapist, and also give me my first fundamental aspects of entrepreneurship, help nurturing that. But currently, I will say, kind of two of my mentors have been like my first investor, Josh Kaufman, who wrote me $100,000 check in 15 minutes. I used that like very cool, and I interned for them like for a few years, so that was really cool. My first investor, that was something that's really been helpful.
Let's talk about a book. What book would you recommend and why?
I think that when I have my own book, it's called Go Where There's No Path. So yeah, I recommend my own book one. I would say for people like me, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell was a really formative read for me. I think Venture Deals, if you want to understand venture capital, is a really good book to understand VCs. The Lean Startup is really good. And yeah, so those are four like good. And I think you are trying, because you don't want to get the books that are, oh, let's scale this, let's do that. But it's really like books that can really help people break into the space and learn the fundamentals about the industry, and what to say, how to approach it, and how to do pitch competitions, all those things.
Tell us how we can get your book.
It's on Amazon. Go Where There's No Path, Christopher Gray.
Thank you. Is there a social cause tied to your business?
Yep. Reducing student debt through free money for college.
Absolutely. The word is listening. What is that resounding sound or message that your generation is saying we should be listening to?
Move faster. I think that move faster, because I think that there's so much with a technology perspective we're going to be able to achieve in terms of like diseases, aging, artificial intelligence, the workforce, education, more importantly than all of that, and being able to achieve. And I think that moving faster so we can achieve these things, and deal with that demand disruption. But I think moving faster is something that millennials want to move fast. Gen Z, they're even worse. They want to move faster, right?
And I want you to talk specifically to emerging diverse entrepreneurs, and they have a challenge with raising capital, access to capital. What advice would you give them?
There are a lot of new fund managers that are dedicated to only investing in Black businesses. I would really look at things like that, right? Use this resource like Funding Circle and things like that kind of have those marketplaces where you're able to apply for capital and get a bunch just based on what you're doing. So I think that's really important, like those capital sources. But I also say like really finding your angel investors, and people that are aligned with your business. That's really important. There are lots of Black angel groups out there now. Well, not say a ton, but there are. So finding people who have that cultural competence and cultural empathy, to make sure that you do that. Because again, it's like when you're raising capital when you need it, it's harder. So you have to have people that add that layer of empathy there. Again, and then when you don't need it, and do that. But also I will encourage entrepreneurs, when you hit that breaking point and you can get that capital and it's there for you, take it, because you don't know especially when the terms are good, and all that. Because the thing is, when you need it really well, when you need it bad, the terms that you may get it, but the terms may be bad. You're giving up boards, you give 30% equity to your company, so you've got to really be careful about that.
What is the best decision you've made as a leader?
I think ultimately to exit the company. I think that in a market that was becoming increasingly volatile, I was able to, protect my wealth, protect the job of all my employees. They all kept their jobs and all that, and be able to do that. And they all got more money because of that. So I think that was really good to make all their hard work and their journey with Scholly be worth it.
And Chris, what is your leadership style?
I think I'm a minimalist when it comes to meetings. I do not like a ton of meetings. I do not like long meetings. I do not like any meeting that's over 30 minutes. It just shouldn't be had, really. It just what you talked about. And I think that just really hiring the best people and letting them do the best work, right? And not micromanaging. So that is something that's really it. Like hire the best people, lead more so than micromanage. You got to manage a bit, but like a lot of have to lead to inspire people to do good, to do the right work and the best work. But hire the best people because they're going to do the best work while you focus on what you're good at.
And talking about hiring the best people, and we see the environment and market we're in now, finding employees, good employees, is a little challenging. What do you say to that?
I think that some of my best hires have come through referrals from people I trust. I will say that to this day. So I think try to tap into your network to get people you can trust, right? And then also, if you're really early and you're not like a big company like a Facebook where you just like everything in the assembly line, you really want to take time, treat it like dating. Take your time, get to know people, their work ethic, and then before you do, because some of you like, oh, you like them in the beginning, then you like, not you, like you ain't it ain't stay consistent, and you have it all the time. Oh, you good work, then, yeah. So I don't know. So I think that is something that like you got. It does feel like that. It's like, okay, like we hit it off in the beginning, then you feel like 2 months, 3 months, okay, this ain't, it ain't giving what's supposed to give, it ain't as good anymore, it's not sustainable, right? So, and I've had that happen more often than not. I got excited about somebody, then they were, not great, and then that's it. So, hiring is really important. So, like, treat it like a dating process.
Absolutely. Swipe right, swipe left.
Swipe right, so but when you swipe right, you still, got to date multiple people until you figure, because the one you picked, you can't just go for one because you're wasting your time. Just say that.
Legacy. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
For making the most social impact in the area, and specifically in the areas of education. So I'm obviously there's obviously a Chris Gray Scholarship Fund coming. We're actually very soon. There's some other stuff, I want to get back. Specifically as it relates to my hometown. That the school system there isn't that great. But I think and so I think trying to really find organizations that are really like to scale that are really doing good work is really important.
What do you need right now that you don't have that we can give you to help you?
I think that right now, really support. I think that one thing I really appreciate about my community and Black people, the majority of our users are Black. A lot of the people written about Scholly are Black. I would say that really more and more of just community supporting things I do. Downloading Scholly is free now. Getting Path, as well. Like, I think those are things that we can do just to really be support. I think that the best support is with your dollars, right? And I think when you talk to entrepreneurs, every entrepreneur said the best part is your dollars, right? I had a friend of mine. It was their birthday a few months ago, and they were like, "Oh, like, what are you doing?" I was like, "What do you want to buy my product?" They're like, "Don't spend money on this." Like, but they're like, "Buy my product." Like those sales as an entrepreneur, those sales mean more to me than like if you buy me a watch or something, or throwing me a birthday dinner, right? Like you're gonna pay this $1,200 birthday dinner just for all 10 of us. That's what I want. $1,200 in sales from
That's
organization. So,
beautiful. Yeah.
beautiful. That's the love language of entrepreneur is revenue. That's my love language.
There's a lot of risk and rewards in entrepreneurship. Let's talk about a moment in time when you were running the business and talk about that challenging obstacle and how did you overcome?
I think one of the things was that those early days of not being able to raise capital was very challenging. So I was able to then find ways to get free labor by giving people equity, and that was really helpful. But that was really challenging in the early days, when we had to build the product with no capital and being Black, no family money. You can't do the friend and family round. Friend and family round don't exist in the Black community. Like we don't. We don't have family members that can write you 150,000. Right? That stuff doesn't exist for us. Right. So like being at it. So those are the toughest times when you are your biggest supporter because you're trying to build something that isn't real yet. Right. So that's it.
Talk about your family and how did they react to your success?
I think that everyone's really proud, right? I mean, I think that I'm a first generation college student, so it's new to them and adapting to that. I'm understanding what that means, but of course they're very proud, right? I think that it takes one person to break the cycle of poverty in a family, and I think that going forward, it makes it easier for others, and it makes the young people in that family like give them something to look to. So by the time they're 18 and they're that's what it had a big impact, right? Some of them haven't, because some people have them, and from kind of the hood, so some people are stuck with that mentality. But they're those who are really in a good place, who I think they're the source of inspiration for them.
If you could spend time with one person, living or not, name that person and tell us that dinner conversation.
I think it would be my late grandfather, who died October 2022. So I think that being able to do that, because I think there was a lot of stuff that happened, and I think being able to have a conversation about all the things that happened, but the business updates on life, not something, all the things were really really, because he died 3 days for my birthday, right? So it was very
Mm.
traumatizing. So I think being able to do that would be helpful, like being able to press reset. Yeah,
And my sincere
it was
sympathy for that. What is the biggest shift you had to make to scale or grow?
when we were charging only 99 cents for Scholly, and we had to figure out that wasn't working. That wasn't sustainable. Yeah, so we had to make that change. Yes. That was really it.
And what did you go from 99 cents to how much? How did
It
you
was,
scale
it was
that?
299 a month. We went to 299 a month. We were just charging 1 9 cents one time. It was crazy. That was crazy. And we went on Shark Tank with that business model. It was crazy.
And was there a mentor or someone that told you you needed to make the shift?
So it was funny enough, we had people emailing us thinking that they actually had a subscription, that we were charging them every day. I want to cancel, and we were like, oh, well, people actually thought we were doing it anyway. So we might make the change. People thought we were like already doing it anyway. So that's what's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the most costly lesson you've learned in life or business?
That not having a good business model to start when we had the biggest, yeah. And learning the idea of not being cocky when you don't need capital, and taking advantage to raise that capital, right? Because when you get entrepreneurs, when you're black, like, okay, you have the moment you have the moment you really need, you have the moment you don't need it. Do it when you don't need to, because that's when you can fill your coffers and activate a lot of opportunities, right? So that was costly, I think.
Let's take a snapshot of the last 30 days. What was your biggest win?
The last 30 days, my biggest win has been, well, we filmed our Shark Tank update, so that's good, on just this past week. Yeah, so that's gonna air soon. So I'm really, really excited. So it's gonna be a big full circle moment. We get to talk about everything, so I'm excited. So yeah, that's literally the biggest. That's gonna be like, it's funny, like it's such a spiritual moment for me, because I'm literally it's happening all over again, and we're at the end of the road. So I got very emotional.
Thank you for sharing that. Share the first wound you experienced with a boss or a leader.
I would say that my first job in college was at my internship was with Fannie Mae, ironically, right? Right, it's just funny. And we had a boss that really was, I think, not performing well. It was right. I was 2010, so right after the financial crisis, they were under a lot of scrutiny, and she would just throw us under the bus, and it was very obvious. And then she would kind of gaslight us, and that's when I learned I had issues with authority, because I kind of I went off on her, and then I reported her to HR, so she couldn't fire me. Yeah.
What is your zone of genius?
I think being an operator, I've grown to be a really big, on operations, detail, and strategy, right? And being, yeah. So
And what is your weakness as an entrepreneur?
I think that for me, my weakness can be the aspect of being sometimes just not knowing when to slow down, not knowing when to speed up. Like sometimes being at that person with a lot, when a lot of opportunity, a lot of things are happening, being able to just okay, really do that. But then actually, no, I would say this much. I would say that my one of my biggest weaknesses, because I kind of grew out of that weakness actually, as I've grown as an executive. My biggest entrepreneur weakness is that I think that really understanding how to allow. No, I haven't thought about this in a while, because I did all the stuff I thought was my weaknesses. I kind of were able to overcome, just with experience. I feel it. I feel I'm old now. But yeah. So, well, I would say that, because I don't say I'm perfect, because that's narcissistic. But I would say I would say my biggest current weakness is being able to, I would say, quickly adapt to change. Because right now, like being acquired is very different. We're at a corporation, and like what would take us 2 weeks now takes 3 months to do just a project. It's, and that's been something that's been new, and not having, the authority over that. But I think adapting to this new change has been something that I have to learn. But it's something that I'm enjoying trying to learn.
Talk about mental health and managing a business.
Oh, it's crazy. Like you're gonna go, it's wild. Like you're gonna go all these ups and downs. Like sometimes business is doing good, so I'm happy. The market will change. A competitor disrupts your feature. It all happens, right? It is very, and I think that having a good community around you, talking to entrepreneurs who've been there, who've had those ups and downs, don't just read TechCrunch, don't just read these articles that show their success. Really meet real people that show up now, so you understand you have a community, but understanding that this the natural cycle of a business. Whether you are a big billion-dollar company or a small company, have these ups and downs, and you have to deal with it. And being an entrepreneur takes a supernatural level of confidence. You're gonna get a lot of no's, a lot of rejections. People don't believe in what you're doing. People think you can get a job. So really being able to be fortified in what you're doing before you take that journey, because it isn't for the weary. And being able to do that because it's gonna be hard. It doesn't matter even founders who come from money, those hardships will come.
Chris, take us to that moment in time and give us as much backstory as possible when you knew that you were going to be successful.
I think that the moment I got on Shark Tank was like, wow, I felt it. Like the meteoric success that we were having, numbers, revenue, team attention, validation. And it's really cool to be able to press reset on that in February. I mean, when this thing airs, because it's like, wow, now I get to actually do the thing and really and realize this moment and press reset, with any company I start in the future. So it's been good. So it's been really good. So I knew that, like, when I had that moment, it's just like, I knew like this was it. It was meant to be.
And when I hear your story, it's almost similar to what happened with Facebook starting it in college. And like you said, we don't get the opportunity to see specifically Black founders. And you've gone through college doing that. How are your classmates feeling about that?
It's good. Well, I ain't got Facebook money. I ain't got Mark Zuckerberg money. We ain't get that. They ain't that big. I wish if I been at Facebook, you can tell me nothing. We'd be in a whole other thing, right? But like, they're happy, right? I do think they're happy. And I think I've been an example to a lot of Black entrepreneurs who just haven't done it, right? So I think that's really important. And there are really no Black tech exits really at all. There's only, I think, a few, like, especially the rapper, kind of like literally like probably less than 5. Right. So like there is only 34 Black women actually have raised over $1 million, right, in tech. So it's a very much a hard space to kind of be in. And but yeah, that was it. Anyway.
You talked about artificial intelligence. It's trending. How are you using artificial intelligence now, day to day, personally?
I think that AI has been something that has just, I use ChatGPT for everything, for like every email I write, all that stuff. I've been using it to you just work faster, right? It gets you products done fast, proposals done faster, and I think it's going to change. I do worry what it's going to do for certain jobs though. Like, there's certain skills that may not be needed anymore, right? Even we think of something as big as law, like imagine you can generate contract, a litigation strategy like that. What do you need associates? So it's going to cause, you see it in consulting firms are laying all these people off because they now can do so much work with AI that they don't really necessarily have to, a client can tell them, here's the issue, and then they can put them in there. Here's the solution, right? Like it's going to be, then you're going to need less associates on that account. Let's say it's going to be money, right? And, and it puts businesses in a weird spot because businesses have to optimize for cost. So that's your duty, fiduciary responsibility. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting, but I love AI. I use it all the time.
And ditto, I'm like a fan of AI. And it's interesting because you coming from the scholarship space, and I was in higher ed for many years. And I cannot even fathom when I was in higher ed, plagiarism was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering how professors are going to deal with that now with AI.
I think there's going to be AI that can identify AI. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that there's going to be. I think regulation is going to come, but I think there's going to be AI that can identify when there's, and I think students will be required to use that technology to make sure that they're doing that. I think there's going to be some sort of like proof doc, whatever, like software or something. You have to write using this thing that like makes sure that you didn't like copy and paste this. Because a lot of you look at from a technology, you want to get really nerdy with it. A lot of it you can tell if someone just copied and pasted something from somewhere, right? Like that they didn't actually write it, right, themselves. So, but it's going to be hard because in a way, plagiarism is one small thing, because at the same time, AI is going to change so much to where like it's going to be hard to stop. It's going to be really hard to stop. But like, because kids will find a way around it. People will find a way.
Oh, right. And young people, the younger, because
Yeah.
they live tech their whole life,
A
they're
lot of and the schools aren't. The teachers are not, right? They're teachers, they're educated. They're not trying to like go through learn all this new software, especially for the inner city school. They don't got, they barely, have computers. They're not trying to do all that, right?
right.
And then some of them in their best interest, like, hey, you write better papers, you get better grades, I get better score. Like, so it's like some of them may just be like, it is what it is, right?
Chris, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
It would be, how did it all feel? And how did it all feel to me? It feels surreal. It feels amazing. And it's been a really good journey. And almost feels like I just feel like I emerged as like, I don't know if you watch, you probably watch anime at all. Like when you watch the like anime, you feel like you're on, like you have the story arc and the protagonist, or any show where the protagonist is like their first journey. They have all these memories and you fight all the villains and all this stuff. And then there's like a time skip where it's like you now like have matured and now you're like at that like different part two, like season 2 or something like that. And you're like a different, there's new characters, new people in my life and everything like that. So I do feel that way. And it feels like a little bit like one of my friends who knew I was like 22 was like, it's like, you really like now like this exact stuff. When I met you, you were like, oh, you were like young, wild, and free, and now you're like, it's very different. So yeah, it just feels like being at a different phase in the journey, like part 2.
Did you do a celebration? Did you do a trip or anything big to celebrate the acquisition?
Doing that for New Year's, I'm going to Turks and Caicos, with my friends.
Congratulations. Thank you for that.
First real vacation ever. I've never taken a vacation.
Wow. Yeah,
Never, not once.
that's awesome.
I've never used PTO.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions. It's called the Rapid Round of Fun. And I want you to give me very quick answers. And if there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Rapid Round of Fun?
Sure.
What is your favorite comfort food?
Fried chicken. I'm there.
Your ideal car?
No car. I don't want a car.
The last movie you saw?
A documentary on Nikolai Tesla. Literally, like for this call.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Beyonce.
Your favorite dance song?
I can't dance.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Grapes.
Workout or hit the couch?
Workout.
Christopher Gray, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you. And feel free to leave all your social media handles.
You want to get Scholly, go to the App Store or myscholly.com. If you want to learn more about the company I invested in, yourpath.ai. And my social media handle, I'm mainly on Instagram at CJGray91. It's that social media handle, and that's it.
Thank you, Chris. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.